You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night paranormal pop-up show. My name is Kerry Greenaway and tonight I am joined in the studio firstly by the beautiful and amazing lovely Gemma. Good evening, Gemma.
Hi darling, how are you?
I'm fine, I'm very fine. And Mr. Carl Hutchinson has joined us in the studio too. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening. Where was mine, the lovely, the beautiful Carl Hutchinson? I just got, oh, it is Carl.
Oh, sorry. And let me start that again. And
Rerun.
And here is the amazing, fantastic man himself, Mr. Carl Hutchinson. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening. How you everybody doing? I'm in one of those moods tonight.
Oh, he's very in one of those moods. I've told him he needs to
I don't think I'd have guessed. Would you have guessed, Kerry? I really wouldn't have guessed it.
No, a little worried. A little unfiltered right now is all I'm saying.
We're on air, the filter's on.
Hey, is what I like to hear. So, my guys and girls, we have had quite a week in the paranormal field this week, haven't we?
Oh, we have indeed.
There's been lots of things going on in this week.
Never a dull moment, is there, in the paranormal world?
Well, I have to say, one of the main things I think that's gone on this week is books. A very themed book week this week. You've had lots of books, and Carl's had lots of books, and Penny's had a book out, and it's
all about the books.
It's all about the books this week, guys. So what are you reading?
Who?
Either of you.
Oh.
We thought you was talking to the listeners then. I was going to say, I'm waiting for them to reply.
Well,
like magic.
If you are reading a paranormal book, don't forget, pop it in the chat. Join us in the chat because we love it on a Friday. This is free and flying and no script, this show. Yeah. So give us some fodder, people.
God help us all.
So what books are you reading, Gemma, at the moment?
I am just starting on the Mothman prophecies. And that's because I'm using that as, my 3 comparisons that I'm doing of alleged hauntings. I'm using the Mothman as one of those. So I've been watching documentaries, reading blogs, reading the books.
I can actually put you in touch with somebody that's written one of the, because she's from the native where the Mothman's appeared.
Please do.
Who stayed with me last April while she was doing some research, and I took her around the Kentish Mothman experience in 1973, I think it was.
Oh, Carl, I think you need to hook me up on that one.
Yeah, no, Alison, she's basically she goes around the paranormal conventions and talks about Mothman and stuff like that. I'll put you in touch with her. She's amazing. She stayed with me.
We love Alison already, don't we, Gemma?
Yeah.
Her and her husband stayed with me for a week when she was investigating the first ever female ghost hunter back in the day.
Wow.
So we had a lot of conversations about the Mothman.
Oh,
Well, I
definitely
always
put me in
thought
touch.
the old Mothman, I mean, was just like this big flappy man creature thing. But it's not. It goes into ufology and Men in Black and a whole conspiracy thing, and then it comes into Indrid Cold, doesn't it? And all of this side of things.
Yeah.
There's a whole backstory to it, because I'm actually reading that book too. I don't know why. I mean, maybe a little bit of Hellier influence going on there. But, and it kind of does make you want to look deeper into that, doesn't it? When you watch something like Hellier, because I didn't say my pre-knowledge before I'd watched Hellier was this Batman thingy.
Batman, yeah. Batman without Robin.
Yeah, with glowy eyes. And that kind of was more of a crypto thing for me. And I didn't realise how involved it get. I mean, I've only just started the same as Gemma, so I'm only sort of in the early few pages of it.
But like you say, a lot of the Mothman, accounts of these appearances have all got certain things in common, i.e. there's lights in the sky, there's certain other things that are happening. So there is that whole UFO, crypto, paranormal circuit.
Well, yeah, because they say before any haunting, there's usually a UFO sighting. Yeah. Or it's been known, should I say. It's not common, but there is that
a link.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. There seems to be a link, doesn't there?
But no.
It's all connected somehow.
I've done a lot of looking at particularly when I knew Alison and her husband were coming over. And I didn't know anything, and I've lived in Kent for God knows how many years. There's been back in the day, there was a Mothman sighting in Kent, in Deal, just down literally half an hour, 45 minutes away from where I am. So we went to the places. We took them on a road trip, and we went to the places where they'd seen them. We'd been to this, but there's also there's ghosts. Like you said, there's ghost experiences. There's lights in the sky and all this sort of stuff. And there was a lot of it was UFO, and then obviously this figure came out, and it was more of then it turns into the crypto side of it.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a lot bigger than I first anticipated it would be.
It's the Mothman Festival, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've got a statue and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to Jay Lynch, and he was explaining actually how big it is in America. And although we know about it over here, we haven't really sort of embraced that side of it. And actually, this is one thing I've noticed, is that the UK contingency feels like a very split field in regards to ufology, ghost spirit connections, whereas in America, they're not so much. They sort of embrace the whole thing, don't they?
It's more hand in hand, isn't it?
Yeah, they seem to see the connection, whereas UK people do see almost two definitive fields.
Well, I think in the UK, like you say, it's defined into paranormal ghosts, spirits, UFOs, cryptos. But in the States, they have conventions where they have the whole mix. You have people talking about UFOs, you have people talking about cryptos. Like last year, obviously, our good friend MJ was at Cryptfest in the States, which basically had Nick Groff, MJ, but then also had the guy that Bobo, whatever his name was, who hunts the Bigfoot, and they don't split it out in the States. But I think that's why the Americans do it slightly different when it comes to conventions of any time, like Comic-Cons and horror cons and stuff like that. They bring everything into the same melting pot, because at the end of the day, I know I've spoken to a lot of people, and they have the same interests. Like people that are into UFOs will have an interest into the paranormal, ghosts, and so there's loads of crossovers.
Yeah, there is quite a few. It's actually surprising, and it's not until you start looking into something like the Mothman that you realise just how intertwined it actually is.
Yeah. Very,
it's all about broadening your horizons, isn't it? And
it is.
Being more open-minded.
Yeah, instead of being bogged into it, pigeon yourself into a little hole. Just look at the bigger picture and look at different areas of it. So yeah, I think the industry over here needs to take a little bit of a look at the US way of doing stuff and the way they incorporate everything into it, instead of just, I'm a paranormal investigator, I don't believe in UFOs, I don't believe in the Yeti or Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
I'm going to admit freely here and now, I've been very, I've done that. I've got, UFO, not interested. I mean, I've covered topics like that on the Dark Mirror show because Mark's got that interest and you've got that interest. You know what I mean? In fact, we're going more down that kind of line on the Dark Mirror show, aren't we, than we've probably ever done. But that possibly is to do with the evolution of my journey. I'm not so dismissive of it now. And I'm starting to see the links where I hadn't seen links before. So I'm starting to broaden my own horizons in that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to, I'll be quite open about it's a complete... There's always something you're learning, always something pushing you into that next journey or next rabbit hole, isn't there? And be open to that. Whereas before...
Well, isn't that the joy with the paranormal world? How one path can lead you to another?
It is. It certainly is. But I don't feel like I've covered enough of the paranormal side, not paranormal because that's an umbrella term, but like the spirit ghosty type thing. I don't feel like I know enough to then start branching off into another. And actually, and I'll admit this, of all the areas in the paranormal, the alien thing scares me the most.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is there a reason?
I think probably it scares you the most. It's probably one of the only areas of the fields that come under the same umbrella that has more... because it would be a very, very sad world if we thought we're the only intelligent life.
Oh, God, yeah.
All these galaxies. So...
See, I don't think that bit doesn't scare me. It's the fact that if they are coming to Earth, they're keeping themselves hidden. Why? Why would you do that?
Because
but
I
then
think...
having said that, we shoot people or things that we don't know, don't we?
I was just going to say, yeah.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. When it comes to UFOs and being visited, I think these are intelligent people. Not people, creatures, whatever you want to call them. And they basically, if they became public, I think it would scare.
Yeah, if I was a little grey man with a giant head coming from out of space on my little ship, and I just landed in a cornfield, you're laughing, guys, but it's true. If I was to do that, would I think, oh, I know, I've been watching these people for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. I've seen how they react to stuff that they don't know or don't understand. Would I think to myself, oh, there's a pub just up the road, I'm going to pop in there for a spot of lunch? Or would I think, there's a mountain over there, I'm off over there to set up home so that they don't come after me with the shotguns?
I think that is it. It's what the human race has done for centuries, and that is, if they don't know it, they'll kill it, eat it, or mate with it.
You can't rule either out, can you?
Because at the end of the day, that's basically
sure
what the
there's
human...
a porn site about that.
No, I'm being deadly serious. That's what the human race does. If you can't eat it, and you can't do...
Easy.
You're basically just not interested in it, really.
I have to say there was a night, me, Gemma and Carl, we were talking, and we came across something that was very, very explicit, which I can't possibly tell you about. All I'm saying is it's insertion of love eggs, but they weren't called love eggs, they were called alien eggs, and they were made of gelatine. Honestly, it was really strange. Anyway, getting off topic, I've gone down a different avenue now. I'm going back to topic. Right, it is one of those...
Let's move away from the alien love egg.
Uh-huh. Don't worry, guys, I'll share the link later. But I think if I can't see any alien coming through our stratosphere into our planet, I would go more with multi-dimensional, it's actually us, evolved, coming maybe, we've maybe conquered the time travel slip thing. That's kind of what I would go with, personally. What do we make of that little theory?
Would that account for us being little grey alien lookalikes?
Well, they do say the brains are getting larger and our heads are expanding. Although with some people that's already happened, which has been evident on social media recently.
I was just going to say that. Have you seen social
You
media?
were worried about what I was going to say on the radio.
And then I come out with that one, right?
Exactly.
It sounds to be one of us, though, in all fairness.
But it does seem to be the one area where, if whatever angle it comes from, if it's government conspiracy, which it covers a lot it does step into government conspiracy, doesn't it? If it is
Massively.
a multi-dimensional thing, it shows how far technology has come from. If they are doing experiments on people, which we've looked at from a psychological perspective before now on Parasearch, it does seem to be one of those things that you would terrify. I have to say, I think anybody, if they came across like little green men in a cornfield, like you said, the common factor is it scared the crap out of anybody who's come across that. They've all turned on their heels and run. I mean, even going into the first few chapters of the Mothman prophecies, how many accounts are they were scared crapless? You know what I mean?
Massively.
They literally turned on their heels and ran. And there is no photographic evidence, firstly, because everybody just turned on their heels and ran. And secondly, there's a really common theme, isn't there, that machinery, like cameras and video cameras and stuff like that, fail under those circumstances. So it kind of makes you wonder about that side of things too, doesn't it?
Well, when it comes to the little green men or the greys or whatever colour you want to call it or whatever,
Purple with yellow spots.
Anything like that, I think that is a different element. But you're right about they say about the cameras failing. But at the end of the day, there are, and I see it because I've got a few of these guys on my friends on Facebook, and I see some of the stuff they post, and I'm like, you look at it and you think, and you watch the videos and you watch the TV and you think, yeah, okay, you can't explain that. Because you've got these things you see moving in the lights. There's a great one that was posted a couple of days ago by a guy in the UK who I'm trying to persuade him to come on the show. And he posted this video of like a plane spotter at Gatwick Airport, and you see this Virgin jumbo jet take off, and you just don't think anything of it, and then he slows it down. And he said, "Did you see that?" And then all of a sudden, as it takes off, and then when he then plays the original, and it takes off at normal speed, and then you're looking closely, and then he slows it down again, and there's this thing that follows it behind the tail, and then shoots off at a different speed.
Carl, why would you tell me stuff like that? I'm not scared. I'm not so much scared of UFOs, but I am absolutely petrified of being on aeroplanes.
They just added another level to that.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's anything to do with they're trying to bring aeroplanes down. I just think it just happens that.
But now that's all that's in my head, and next time I'm sat on a plane, taxi into the runway, I'm going to be thinking, "Oh my God, now the alien mothership is going to come and take us down."
Well, at the end of the day, if it's an alien mothership, you don't have to worry about it because they're going to take you away off the plane before it crashes.
But there's plenty of accounts, even going back to the World Wars. You know, Foo Fighters were a big thing, and we'd done a show on that a little while ago. Was it a propaganda thing? Was it just, something through oxygen deprivation and food deprivation that people were seeing? You know, things like that were seen back in those days in the very first times of aviation. And they do say that there is a hell of a lot of sightings seen whilst you're in an aircraft. Although I would like to say I've never seen anything like that when I've been in an aircraft. And I'm
all I see is gin bottles.
She sees gin bottles.
Just see gin bottles. Yeah, that is it. Don't see anything else when I'm on a plane.
And the other thing I would like to say, actually, is whenever we've tried to pin someone down from the ufology world who has had, shall we say, a credible story, or something that they're willing to talk about, 9 times out of 10 they'll cancel. They'll be missing in action. They won't. They'll be all up for it. Then all of a sudden, like a week or two before, all of a sudden, poof, they seem to vanish off the face of the earth.
And that fuels the whole conspiracy theory about the whole aliens and it's a government. There's the men in black going to come round, zap your mind or probe you or do whatever you want to do.
I have to say, Will, there's men in black can probe me any day you want.
I was holding my son so much then. Welcome to Friday nights on Parasearch.
I am to a sensible point. And both of these two, before we came on air, was worried about me. I'm the one that's not done an inappropriate comment.
All I've done is inappropriate comments, isn't it?
And I'm the one that got...
It's Friday night and it's past the watershed. All is well with the world.
I've had far too much to drink already. No.
I think I should start now. I think I should open my mouth a bit.
Oh, maybe not. Right, so...
Controversial.
The only other thing I would say is we talk about fake footage a lot in the paranormal field in regard to like spirits and stuff like that, right? Or footage that is not what I would class as evidential
credible
proof or credible. Yeah, you know, people go, "Oh, look at this evidence," and I'm looking at it thinking, don't see anything personally. I was looking at one earlier. They said this is like a prison. It was in a prison, and so there was supposed to be this black shadow, and I'm like literally peering so closely at my screen, going, "Black shadow."
Do you know what was missing? I could tell you what was missing from that.
The big red circle.
The red circle.
Wow.
Have you seen that photo on Facebook that goes around occasionally where there's a picture of a bed and it just says, "What do you see?" And a lot of people see it, and all of a sudden people go, "Oh, I've been looking there in this circle," and then I realised it was actually a hula hoop stuck to the bed.
Yeah.
Because everybody thought it's a red circle. You're trying to see what's in that parrot.
Oh, I've so not seen that. You need to share that with me, Carl.
I'll find it. I'll send it round.
You're looking at
I've been looking at this picture for 3 hours, and then I realised it was a hula hoop.
Yeah. But going back to my point with footage regarding ufology world, so much can be faked now. CGI has come on in leaps and bounds. I mean, gosh, you know, you've only got to look at Jurassic Park to believe dinosaurs roaming the earth, you know, in the way that they did.
What, you mean they can't?
Sorry, I know it's a bit like
where's that T-Rex come from that's in my back garden then?
Wow, I don't know.
That's somebody in a blow-up suit.
They are funny. I have to say that I find those videos.
My good friend and your friend Mickey's got one.
Oh, has he?
Mickey York's got one.
Oh,
Mickey, if you're listening, get your suit off.
I was going to say, Mickey, we're going to have to sort something out on that one, I feel.
Mickey has done a couple of videos on social media of him doing strange challenges in his T-Rex suit, and it's hilariously funny.
What is the world coming to her?
Yeah,
it is. So it does, but the fake thing, I think, is such a problem that you can't discern what's real and what's not real, really. Not on first view. Yes, okay, so if they submitted it and you can go to the metadata, you'd be able to break it down and see if it had been fiddled with. But sometimes it's so grainy or so far away. I mean, how many times have we tried to take a picture of a full moon and then it's bright, it's clear, you can see it in your eyes and it's gorgeous. And then when you take a photograph with your camera, did you hear that?
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. If anybody can hear my dogs barking, they are going crazy for some reason. There's noises.
What Kerry was listening.
There was noises in Kerry's house. It sounded like somebody was coming down the stairs or something. And then my dogs started going absolutely crazy at exactly the same time. So I'm really sorry if you could hear my dogs too.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry if you could hear whatever noise that was that's going on.
At the end of the day,
I'm a little worried there's a man in black coming through my door right now. Oh my God.
Where's your dog?
Coming to probe you.
Your dog barks at anything.
Yes, it's true.
Where's your dog at the moment?
He's asleep in the front room.
So if that was somebody, actually, he'd have gone bananas, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would have done.
Yeah. But your face was a pitch because I heard like do do do.
I know, right? Okay. Anyway, kids aren't here, so it's not them. The dog's asleep. No. I'm on the air. Okay.
So whoever it is, can you pass us another drink? Thank you kindly.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you'd just like to fill it out, a little bit of ice, we can go down a problem, you know. So what was I saying? Anyway.
So we was on about falsifying, well, not falsifying, but non-factual evidence.
Yeah, because it's so hard to tell the difference, isn't it? And like I said, moon, that's where I was going. Take a photograph with your phone. It comes up tiny, doesn't it? And you'll look at it and go, why can't you look like that through the photograph I've just taken? It really is like weird. It's, you know, the perspective that your camera takes of it. So what you're seeing on camera might not actually be seeing what they're seeing. It might be larger and brighter in real life to what you're actually getting on camera. But there is so much fake out there. We see it all the time in haunted locations, but we also see it very much in the ufology world, and it's very hard to work it out what's real and what's not real. And that's some of it is so shaky and bad and whatnot. It really stretches my mind into I find it hard to believe, quite frankly.
But the more that you're concentrating on it as well, because you're focusing so hard on this item that's been sent to you, then your pareidolia kicks in, because your mind is automatically trying to find something out of that footage, which is false positives, isn't it? That doesn't do anybody any good.
Everybody likes a good false positive.
I am so sorry, my phone's vibrating in the background.
But there is so much unexplained phenomena in this world.
Vibrating. Sorry?
There is so much unexplained phenomena in this world that is still yet to be explained. I'm not saying it's paranormal, I'm just saying we have yet to explain it. Now, I just want to refer to the chat room, because we have got some people in the chat room. So good evening, everybody in the chat room. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, chat room.
Richard has said he would like to see researchers use the term unexplained aerial phenomena as opposed to UFOs, as that name automatically puts it in an alien context. That's true, right? We all go, UFO, alien, right?
No, because it's an unidentified flying object. So the only reason people say UFO is because it's been used in, they're saying extraterrestrial. UFO is an unidentified flying object. So
I am just lazy, so go for the shortest option.
Yeah, I have to say, same here. But it could just be, we've talked about this before now on shows where we've said it could just be technology we just don't know about because it's government secrets.
Well, that's the thing. The whole thing about Area 51, that was a government testing place for the U2, the Blackbird, and all these spy planes, and the stealth fighter, and then the stealth bomber, and they tested these things. And there's people that hadn't seen it. The thing is, this is the funny thing about when we talk about Area 51 is it was 20 years after the place actually said there was literally put into a museum this plane before the government actually said, yes, that was correct. That was one of our spy planes. Yeah. And it was already in a museum. 20 years. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to say 20 years time down the line? We already know that this has been flying around, like the stealth fighter, the stealth bomber. Mm-hmm. You don't know what they're testing. You don't know what they're playing around with out there. Or any
true.
No. And that goes as far, that goes in every area of the government, in regards to weaponry, so what else are they hiding that we don't know? Which is, we talked about remote viewing last week. Do we really honestly believe that line of research has been shut down?
Mm-hmm. Daz is in the chat room and he's saying about unexplained sounds. So going back to the hum.
That is a topic we've actually spoken about privately off air amongst ourselves, and we're actually looking into that to do a show on it. But believe it or not, there's a lot of recordings of that, like trumpet sounds as well, for air sounds and stuff like that. And we have been looking into that to try and get devise a show on it, and it's not as easy as you think, apart from witness statements.
But then I'm not being funny, but a lot of research isn't easy to come by either, is it? A lot of facts can be quite difficult to actually pin down.
Uh-huh.
I mean, let's slightly off topic with the UFO, but it's still fake information. There's been a lot on social media this last week about locations adding more to stories and what's the word I'm after?
For marketing purposes, for a location.
Sensationalising everything.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's a pure marketing technique, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, but are they? The thing that I saw this on social media, and I was.
I think everybody must.
I think anybody that's in the same as any type of interest in that would have seen the articles, the posts, the comments. Does it happen? I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah, it does.
I'm pretty sure it does. 100%.
Well,
But
it does.
That's slightly more than pretty sure.
well, yeah. Well, I'm just thinking.
It does. It does.
I'm just thinking
It
about
happens a lot.
slant cases and cases like that. But do we look at it from? You've got to look at it from two aspects. Are they saying it to sell their paranormal events, or are they selling it for another reason?
Or is it coming from the location itself? I think that's where you've got to look at the source of the story, not just who said it. I think you have to go right back to the source of the story. We've seen this quite a lot where one story gets taken or put out by one person and the whole community run with that story and don't actually bother checking any historical facts to back it up. And don't seem to care.
It's the whole Wikipedia research, people.
And you see, this is it. A lot of people think that research means you just pop onto Google, type in a quick search, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. It's going to bring up everything, and it doesn't. Wikipedia is the worst one ever for giving you false information.
Well, that's because you can edit it yourself. You can do it.
It's a good starting point.
I've gone on famous people's profiles on Wikipedia, slipped in something, and just like they're actually not from Australia, they're actually from Barnsley, and just put it in there just to see if anything gets picked up. But I do it because you can, in Wikipedia, you can openly go in and put whatever you like under anything, anybody, and nobody can basically. Obviously, people can take it off and they can edit it, but you can put anything on it. Don't use Wikipedia.
I have to say, if I'm doing a quick look, I will go, because it's the first thing that comes up, so you go to the first thing that comes up. I will use it as a starting point. I will never, ever take it as read, but it's good to give you an overview of a topic or something like that if you're not sure.
So is that what you use to identify your topic?
Yeah.
Not
research
use Wikipedia as research,
no.
Just to identify the root of that topic that you want to research.
Yeah, so if I hear a term that I don't know what that means, go say holographic universal theory, right? That was a term that was given to me. Had no idea what that was. Quick Google, Wikipedia, blue, like bam, up it comes. Brief outline, skim read, not deep read, skim read.
Just
gives me starting points, and then that's where I'll branch from. You know what I mean?
So and because that's exactly what I do. And then once I've done my identifying my topic, I'll then go on to my preliminary. God, I can't get my words out ever. I'll go on to my research. And by that, that's when I'll start popping off to the library, having a look through their censuses and referencing books and proper in-depth research.
Mm-hmm. The problem is, though, looking at the ufology and the ufology and the paranormal world is a lot of it's based on witness statement.
Yeah.
And that's a personal experience, isn't it?
Yeah, but that you can name that about anything, like moments in time. You can talk about personal experience when Kennedy got shot. I was standing on the grassy knoll with an umbrella, open it and close it.
But does that make it evidence? Does that make it proof? In my opinion, no, it doesn't. It's a witness statement.
But even the police won't take that as gospel. They'll use that as starting point.
Unless it's corroborated by other witness statements.
Exactly.
That say what I openly flip and said about the woman standing on the grassy knoll and the umbrella. That's on physical video of this person open and shut an umbrella when it wasn't raining.
They won't take that as the only source, will they? They'll go and they'll look at and then they'll look at corroboratory.
Collaborations.
Yeah, that's the word.
I can say that one.
Of witness statements, and then look for proof, as in footsteps, or like, was there somebody stood behind the fence on the grassy knoll? Is there any evidence of gunshots? Because there were supposed to be gunshots coming from that area, weren't they? So that would leave a trace, wouldn't it? So when you start looking, Greg Lawson was great for that. When we spoke to Greg Lawson, that's a friend of yours as well, Carl, isn't it? Who approaches investigations from a police detective perspective, because that's what he does.
Yeah, this guy's been in the military. He's been in law enforcement for 30 odd years. and now he's still a police officer. He's still an active police officer, but he's also an active paranormal investigator. And anybody that doesn't know Greg Lawson. Go and get his book. He's got a new book coming out shortly, but go out and get his current book that's out there, the Detecting the Paranormal. And it's basically, it gives, when Greg gave me this book 2-3 years ago now, he gave it to me, and I sat there for nearly 4 hours. I should have been doing something at the Sage Paracon, but I just read it because I couldn't put it down. I nearly finished it literally a few hours after he gave it to me, because it sat in front of him, because you look at it in a different way. He looks at the paranormal as an active police case.
Yeah.
So he talk about witness statements and how the difference between the different types of witness statements.
Yeah.
And then he also looks at how corroborating evidence comes into it, the location, what have they got to gain to say things like this, and all this sort of stuff. And I must admit, anybody that hasn't read it, go out and buy it. Paranormal Detective by Greg Lawson.
I'm not going to lie, that's now just being written down.
Well, you have done an interview with Greg Lawson before now on Parasearch Radio, so guys, check that out if you have missed that one. That was on a Spirit Dimension show. Greg Lawson. It's quite a long time ago, but so you'll have to.
In all fairness, though,
but thoroughly interesting.
Isn't that how everybody should be approaching the paranormal? And not just the paranormal in regards to going out investigating, but in researching the locations as well. Because if that was the case, the whole issue that's been all over Facebook and Twitter over the last week wouldn't be happening if people are saying, and they quite clearly are saying, that locations are falsifying information to get people to higher locations. And that's what's been said all week. If people actually did the research and looked, then they would already know the answer to that question before they booked said location.
But then you've also got another scenario of that, is if you look at it from an active point of view, paranormal active point of view, why can't something that happens that somebody picks up on is not documented, because things happen at locations that people don't know about, that are sort of pushed behind closed doors, because that it was the dumb thing to do at those times, and nasty things happened back in the day because it wasn't the dumb thing. It was, let's just push it under the carpet. They then become urban myths, so they then become stories. There's no factual, documented evidence of what's going on, but potentially these could be actually, such as the mistress was a maid and she was sleeping with the lord of the manor, and she had a child and all that. The famous, the ones that you hear every time when you go to a location. The maid gets knocked up by the lord. Bloody it's then walled up. It's then the body. Then she gets walled up in the walls, or she gets locked away. She gets put in the way, or the body gets whatever. The whole thing. You don't know whether these are true. There's no documented evidence, because they wouldn't document that sort of stuff, because they would try to hide it away. But it's not saying the activity that's happening potentially could be true.
No, I don't disagree, but I do think where you can look at the historical facts of a location, you should. But it depends on what you want to do in the field, though, I feel. If you're just out there for a personal experience, then that's good, right? That's not a bad thing. We've all done it. We all like that, don't we?
I still enjoy it to this day.
Exactly. Still do it to this day. Still enjoy that experience, or going to a spooky place and going, seeing what you think and stuff like that. But don't put something out there unless you have, like, as a fact or evidence or proof, if you haven't backed it up with documentation or something like that. You can only put it out as in our experience, our personal experience.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it? People are putting videos, EVPs, things like that, without knowing what the equipment's really measuring, without really corroborating the evidence, without looking at historical facts. I don't blame locations for hyping up a haunting to sell a location. I don't blame them. It's pure marketing. We see it all the time. This shaver's going to do this for you, men. It's going to get the closest shave ever. It's the same as any other bloody razor out there, quite frankly. Whether it's got 2 or 3 razors with an aloe vera strip to give it a lovely
I do like my 3 blades with an aloe vera. I'm not going to lie.
You know. But it's just pure marketing. We see it all over the place. In fact, we're inundated with marketing techniques and advertising. And so locations, if they're needing to raise revenue, and they can do so, I kind of don't blame them. But it's your discernment as a consumer, which you are if you're booking locations. You're a consumer in that situation.
Of course you are.
By taking that on face value, I'm going to go and buy that big razor because that's what they told me it said on the TV. You know what I mean? It's no different in my view. But if you want to really know your topic and really be knowledgeable about the paranormal, it's down to you to do the research in the same way. And I'm going to use my razor analogy right now. If I want to find the best razor for me on the market, I'll try a lot of different razors to find the one that suits me.
Exactly.
That's called market research.
You go and try. Exactly. You try, and then if you find something that you like, then you converted, right?
Yeah. So we're out there going, oh, you know, it's bad. They're putting out falsified information. Oh my God, blah 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 blah. Well, you're the consumer. It's up to you whether or not you book that location. They're not going, you have to book. Nobody else is better than us. You know what I mean? That's your money in your pocket. It's up to you how you spend it, or where you book it, or what investigation you go on, or whether you keep going back to the same location, because it depends on... I will keep going back to a location if I've had fantastic experiences there, personal experiences. And I've said it a million times, I'm not a tech baby at all. I don't care if I've caught an EVP or a camera shot or a video photography shot thing or a hit on my millimeter or you know, I don't know, a spike on a Morley kind of metery thingy. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. Or even a stick man thingy. Do you know what I mean? I don't care about any of that. But if I've gone to a location, I've had some great personal experiences that I can't explain, that will pull me back to that location. And I will be researching the heck out of it behind to see if I can find anything that would back up those experiences as to why I was having that experience. And it's got nothing to do with tech. That's purely research, historical facts, backing it up against my personal experiences. I certainly wouldn't be putting it out there as proof or evidence.
I think this comes into several different aspects to it. Mm-hmm. Is the location hyping a location up just to sell it?
Does it matter?
Mm.
It's a marketing ploy.
It can do, in my eyes, it can do. Certain locations where I've experienced stuff, and you go to a location and you just think, but then again, they're not performing monkeys. Just you catch a bad night. But there's the other aspect of it. You have a personal experience that potentially you're not going to be able to research it, because this potentially could be something that wasn't documented at the time.
True.
Because what history is, it's what people felt relevant to document at the time. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, most of history is personally about experiences that happened that have been written. It's like the Bible. The Bible was written so many years after potentially the events happened. It was like this of that of this of this, that.
We know how factual the Bible is, everybody.
I'm just giving a scenario. The easiest.
I know you are. I know.
I'm winding you up. Is the author or the person that written it? Doesn't mean that author is trying to fake it or put something out there. He's done these research that somebody else does. That particular thing he's researched was potentially alive back then, all those years ago, and it's gone on and gone on and gone on, and then it's gospel. That's the thing with history. you've got to take history as a bit of a fluid thing about it as well. Yes, you can document it, but that documentation potentially could be wrong as well.
Well, we always know that the winner writes history.
Exactly.
You know, it depends on your perspective in regards to who's written the historical account, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
know?
Not knocking anybody that has ever written anything anything to do with history or stuff like that. Yes, if you're looking at famous stuff like World War One, World War Two, Napoleonic Wars, there's certain things that happen on certain dates that you can document. But location-wise,
it does become more sketchy. You're right. It does become a lot more sketchy.
It becomes very, very sketchy about it, which I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying potentially, like Chinese whispers, somebody said something, it then got told to somebody else, then somebody else, and somebody else, and then 10 years down the line, somebody then documents it, goes into something else, and then 50 years down the line, you're doing your research, you find that it's been documented.
Well, there's a famous story. When we was talking to Ruth Roper Wild, she's a historical researcher regarding alleged hauntings that happen, and fascinating talking to her. And she was talking about one particular ghost haunting where this lady is supposed to ride a wild ride through this particular lane on this particular day at this particular time. It was like reoccurrent haunting she had researched. And when she actually looked at the person in question, the lady herself had died when she was 90. And so she goes, so you're telling me that she's at 90 riding to her lover in the middle of the night on a wild horse? She goes, highly doubtful. You know, so when you start looking at it like that, it does... Maybe when she was younger and now she's reliving that. Who knows? But she actually died when she was 90. So it didn't back up with historical fact at all. Yeah. And I also have it on good authority, and I've been told this by 2 different authors. Occasionally, they do put incorrect facts deliberately or incorrect chapters into books just to see who plagiarises their work.
Sit through. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's been said to me a few times by authors. When I've questioned a fact, and they're like, maybe just leave that one alone. It's not.
Yeah, because what they do is they change a name that they document to something else, just to see at some point that somebody else potentially will document that name
without doing the work behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing about plagiarism and stuff like that. Happens. Sadly, it does. Is it that person is plagiarising and he's just picked up on something and he's just put it into their book, his book, her book, or whatever? Do they realise they're doing that? Possibly not. Because they've researched it.
It's down to individuals to be doing as much as they can for themselves.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're going to book a £1,000 location for a night and you want to know whether or not it's the history of it, then do the digging yourself.
Exactly, do the legwork.
You know,
it's daunting. Don't get me wrong; it's daunting when you first start. Like this 3 haunted comparison that I'm currently working on. Like when I first started that, I was like, I actually really don't know where to start with this because it seems massive. But break it down into bite-sized chunks and take it step by step. So I started, as you know, Kerry, because I've already sent you it, so you've already seen what I've done up to now. I started on my first one. So out of the 3 comparisons, started at the very beginning of the first one, went back to the very first reported episode of alleged activity and took it from there. And then I will do exactly the same with the other 2. And then at the very end will be my opinion. It won't be conclusive. I'm not saying I'm going to come along, have a look at these 3 cases and say, well, actually, you've all got it wrong because I said it will be my opinion. In my opinion, this is A, B, C, and D.
But do you feel, right, that people aren't using resources that are available out there to them? They just do a quick Google search and 99.9% of the time you're going to get blog after blog from paranormal team after paranormal team that have been into these locations. They're not looking deeper. They're not going off and researching archives or massive resources that are out there to dig deeper than just
Massively.
the blogs.
A lot of people take word of mouth.
Yeah.
I went on an investigation at this place. It was amazing. I know because I've done it myself, but just because one person's had a great night at a location doesn't mean to say that 10 other people will. It's individual.
It is. It's completely individual of how you want to conduct your work in the field. But be realistic about what you're doing. That's the only thing I would say. I'm quite happy to go to a location I've got literally no idea of the history about. Spend a night in a dark, damp room, with plenty of other people playing with their gadgets while I'm playing with my little pendulums and dowsing rods and scrying glasses and crystals and whatnot. But I'm fully aware what I'm doing is purely personal experience. I'm not going to put it down as documented fact. Well, I got a hit on my dowsing rods, so it proves the paranormal. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. But for me, that's a hobby. That's my hobby. I go out there, I do that. I have fun doing that. That's my fun. Right? I wouldn't criticise anybody for doing what they're doing for fun, but keep it in perspective of what you're actually doing. The orb thing is driving me crazy at the moment. I'm being sent videos still with people going, great orb capture. And I'm thinking, how can you seriously, with all the research that's been done on that, still think that's spirit manifestation, for God's sakes?
Yeah. Yeah.
I captured the ghost of the maid that had the affair with the man that we don't know the name of, that was great.
That got through down the stairs and she was pregnant. And I've never heard that story before.
And you watch the footage and it's an orb. And you go, oh, they told me it was going to be a full-bodied apparition. I really wanted to see that. And it's an orb. And you're like, oh, God, really? Really? Or am I really being wrong on this? Maybe my perspective is twisted on this. Maybe I've gone too far down the rabbit hole and I'm never to be able to take things like that seriously again.
You've gone down the rabbit hole and you can't get back out. You're stuck.
I love this. Cal Cooper is in the chat room. Good evening, Cal, as well. Thank you for joining us. He said, people pay £1,000?
I've paid more.
If not more. Yeah.
I've paid £1,800 for a location.
Well, I'll give you an even better one than that. If you go and investigate the underground,
Old Witch, is it?
Old Witch thing, I think you're looking at somewhere minimum. You're talking $3,000.
That's exactly why I've not been, Carl, in all fairness.
Lucky enough, I went along and I paid my money on a team and we investigated. We had a great time. Apart from the stupid amounts, 196 steps down and 196 steps because there's no power for the lifts up, and that really screwed me up a few times. But amazing location. But people will pay this to go into certain locations that people haven't investigated much about. Because when you put a price tag like that on, there's not going to be many people. It's this whole thing about which fascinates me, that people jump on the bandwagon about, how can a team pay this amount for this location?
But that's up to them. How can anybody criticise that? That's purely down to them.
If I had the money, I would book every single location going, and I would go to every single one, night after night after night after night. If you've got the money and you're able to do that, who is anybody to say, no, you can't do that?
Exactly.
It's your money. You do what you want with your money.
It's like the scenario is I'm earning so much amount of money a year. I will spend most of it on Pokemon cards.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy. If that's what you enjoy doing,
hobby, why would somebody say you can't do that? But there's people out there in social media land sitting behind their keyboards in their pants that...
That's a thought.
Be truthfully honest, that's
it. You've done it now. Media. I'm gone.
that is a lot about social media. But they sit there and say, "How can somebody say to somebody, I'm going to charge this for a location?"
You pay your money and take your choice. It's pure economics.
At the end of the day, if you want to go there and you've got that passion and you want to do it, whose right is it to say to anybody what you can and cannot use your money on?
Yeah.
spend most of my money on equipment. People probably say I'm absolutely crazy, but it's what I enjoy. It's what I do. I don't have to justify it to anybody why I spend. For instance, there you go. They're sitting around on my desk. There's an Ovilus 3. You buy that on eBay. You're looking £300 to £600. So what?
But you say that I buy pretty rocks, and I could easily spend that on a rock.
Yeah.
Exactly, but it's my choice to pay that money.
I just have children that take every single piece of my pennies.
Whose right is it to say that I am wrong to buy something that they say is not proof of the paranormal? How do they know that?
Yeah.
How do they know that? Because they're just sitting there in their pants or tapping away on their keyboard because they don't bother going out and actually doing anything apart from sitting on social media slagging everybody off.
Yeah, well, I spent 59 quid on a book.
Mm.
That's quite. I mean, some books are hundreds of pounds, aren't they?
Well, yeah. Some are extremely expensive, but yeah, I mean, I have spent nigh on £60 on a book.
Yeah.
It's not even a first edition. Gutted.
No, like you say, you've spent that. So I've spent serious amounts of money on certain bits of equipment, and the only reason behind because I like to look at it, break it down, and actually see how it works.
And go, oh, it's a pretty Ovilus 3.
That's another story. That's probably why it's just sitting in a box on my kitchen table.
It's so pretty. That's a bit like me with my rocks, to be fair. Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
This cost me a huge amount of money.
It's just sitting there, and it's not about 3-4 months, and it's just sitting there.
But it's all about discernment about how you wish to spend your money, and if somebody's prepared to pay the cost that a location is charging, then who are we to criticise them for doing that?
Exactly. Enjoy.
It's a hobby. If that's how you want to spend your money. I like to buy books as well. 60 quid for a book, depending on the book it is. That's quite normal. I know Ashley Nibb has spent over £100 on a book before now. You
look at another point of it. You look at people that say, "Oh, people are ripping people off in the paranormal, blah 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 blah."
I don't see that.
But you flip it onto something else. You look at something that is kind of connected, convention-wise, say Comic-Cons.
Yeah, you see, I take my daughter to them.
The Walker convention in London that's been going for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
These people are fans of this TV show.
Yeah.
They're spending serious amounts of money to get their ticket, and then they basically have to then book to have their photograph taken with the star.
Yeah.
You can spend up to £200 to £300 for a series of photographs with the person of your choice, depending on how big they are in the show or whether they died.
Yeah. You see, I take my daughter to anime conventions because she loves drawing animes, and I call them cartoons, and she watches cartoons.
But nobody's sitting in social media saying people shouldn't spend that amount of money on that.
But is the difference you get a product at the end of it? So if you buy a book, you've got a product at the end of it. If you go to Comic-Con and you spend that money to get a photograph, you've got your photograph. Is it because at the end of the night, you could have sat there all night in a location that you've paid a lot of money for, and you may not have caught a thing? But like
you might not have caught a thing, but you might have had a personal experience.
But you might have had a personal experience. And do you think that that's muddying the waters somewhat?
No, because at the end of the day, if you spend that amount of money, it's also giving you an opportunity to get into a location that you potentially couldn't get in as a general public.
True.
Or quieter, because if it's a place that is open during the day for members of the public to come look round, it's usually jam packed. You've got somebody walking around following you. You can't touch that. You can't go in there. You can't do this. You can't do that.
But at the end of the day, there's also the other scenario, Gemma, is when you go during the day in like tour groups and stuff like that, everybody's done that. What's behind that curtain? Yeah. What's behind that rope? On a paranormal investigation, majority of the time, you're allowed to go behind that rope.
There was one location, and I will always remember this forever. There was one location, and they said, down there is human bones, but you're not allowed down there. So I said, oh, okay, that's such a shame. Thank you very much. As soon as the person that was guiding us disappeared, I was down there. I went down there because they're telling me that there's human bones down there, but they're telling me that I'm not allowed to look. I'm really sorry, but that's like telling me not to push a red button. I'm going to push a red button. The minute somebody says to me, you cannot do it, I'm going to be like, well, actually, I think you'll find I'll give it a go.
It's all I'm saying on that one.
I've always been a bit of a rebel like that. And it's because I was interested. I wanted to know if there's human bones down there, why have they still been left down there? Why have these poor people not been put to rest?
But maybe they are at rest where they were. Because if you looked at the historical facts, you might have found that was a graveyard in a previous life. All they've done is build over the top of it.
No, you see, it wasn't, because I'd already been through the plans and they'd already told me the backstory behind it. Literally, they'd knocked a wall down and discovered this body. If that was the case, the body would have been removed.
True.
So there would have been no human bones down there. But I can confirm...
Unless you look into the Legends of Screaming Skulls, where they take the remains away and then they have such problems that they have to put them back, allegedly.
But that wasn't in their backup story. That wasn't in their story at all. So I had a look anyway. I went down, I had a look at these bones, and there definitely wasn't human bones. And in fact, there was plastic.
Oh, lovely.
So I solved that case. I was very disappointed.
Well, I went to a location. It was a fault. It was part of still an active MOD base, the MOD property. We were escorted through security by Landguard, which is the company that runs all MOD properties. We were given the keys. They opened it and they went, "Yeah, you got free run of the thing. Don't go through into the courtyard. Here's the keys." They disappear. We'll come back at your set time to escort you back off the property. As soon as they're out the door and they've shut the door, what's the first thing you do? You open it.
In the courtyard. Yeah, of course you do.
Go out the door.
Yeah, gosh.
Nothing majorly excited apart from a building. They'd set up a mockery for like close combat shooting range.
I mean, it's the saying that you can't do it. They're saying it for a reason, and I want to know what that reason is, so I will look.
But respectful, you don't touch anything, you don't move anything, you don't, you respect the location's wishes, and you don't ruin anything that they've got set up or whatever it is. You just look.
Just look, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't have touched those bones if it hadn't have been perfectly obvious there was plastic.
Yeah, but this is the thing about this whole thing about. As we keep going on about, it's your own choice what you spend your money on. It's your own choice what you choose to believe. It's your own choice. Like anything, a belief system is your own personal choice of your belief system. Yeah. Some people believe in God. Some people don't believe in God. Yeah. Some people believe in ghosts. Some believe fairies live at the bottom of their garden. Some people believe in UFOs. Some people believe in Donald Trump's going to win the next election in the States. It's your own personal view. What I don't like is where people will stand up and shout the odds out, putting down people's beliefs.
Yeah.
If you want to spend 68 quid going to a location because you trust the team you're going with, you've been on a few of their events, they basically have given you a great experience, and you don't want to go on with another team, you will pay what their ticket value is. There are other teams that potentially could be selling it a little bit cheaper because they're going to get more people in on the event to cover the cost of the location, or there's going to be teams out there that are going to be making a little bit more money, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't come into the point of view of paying public to an event. If you are happy to pay what you believe in. It's like I can't understand people that will pay £600-700 to go and watch Lady Gaga in concert when you can buy a CD. Not saying those people are wrong to do it, but I don't understand it myself. But I would never slag somebody off or shout them down saying they're all nuts and everybody's a rip-off merchant and this, that, and the other, because I respect people's beliefs.
At the end of the day, the way I see it is everybody is entitled to their own opinion on whatever it may be.
Oh,
as long as
TV.
What?
Richard Eastop's on my TV.
Oh, see?
I just looked around and thought, I recognise that gentleman on TV.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion on whatever it may be, but if you want to know something for yourself, do the legwork.
Yeah. Read the books. Go and trawl the archives. You know, do the
even just look at even down to looking at the reviews of paranormal teams.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, you pay your money, you take your chance, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. And on that note, we've actually overrun on the hour. We hope you've
check us out.
I know, right? We hope you've enjoyed this paranormal pop-up show that we've brought to you this Friday. And tomorrow, don't forget Mark Manley, Alien himself.
Aliens
is going live on the Parasearch Radio group page for his Q&A. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask him, be there or be square. And on that note, we bid you a very farewell. As you can probably tell, this discussion is going to go on to the wee small hours of the morning. So on that note, say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.